Okay, so we are finally back to video number 2 here of this 4-part video series on how to reef aquarium maintenance. Now, if you have not watched video number 1, definitely I advise you to go back into that video because I do cover the introduction as well as the front and sides of the glass. I give some good tips there. Go check it out. But in this video, finally, after about 30 days of not releasing a video, we're finally going to cover part 2, which is the daily tasks. Now, part 3, of course, as stated in video number 1, is going to be the weekly tasks. And part 4, we're going to be covering the monthly to yearly tasks. Very important videos coming up, guys. You absolutely want to make sure that you do not miss this. Now, because it's been so long that I've done a video, also towards the end of the video, I'm going to do a quick close-up of each and every one of the corals, or at least as much as I can do here to make the video as fast as possible. And, you know, just kind of talk a little bit about each and every one, including the growth and everything else that's evident in the system. Now, when it comes to daily tasks, very simple to do. 3 rules that I absolutely make sure that I follow to ensure that this system is working as it should. Rule number 1 is to visually inspect your system. I cannot stress this enough, guys. I cannot tell you the amount of times that I've come home and I found something that's not working as it should, and bam, you're liable to lose a few corals here. Now we're gonna move the camera here below towards the protein skimmer and, you know, visually inspect your protein skimmer. There are so many things that can happen here. We're also gonna zoom in here quickly. You know, when it comes to your protein skimmer, debris can get stuck in the pump or in the spray injector. If you don't have this particular protein skimmer, if you have a Venturi type skimmer or a needle wheel skimmer, you know, pinwheel skimmer, the same thing can happen to you. And just by visually inspecting the tower, you know, the rise tube here, you know, if it's not working as it should be an indication that there's something going wrong. And so you need to kind of just visually inspect it, make sure that it's working as it should. Another thing that you want to do here when it comes to protein skimmers is make sure that the neck of the skimmer is clean. This is important here, guys. Usually I gotta clean it every 2 to 3 days, and we're covering daily tasks here, but because it falls in between, you know, daily and weekly, I wanted to make sure that I give you guys this tip. Ensure that your protein skimmer's neck is working as it should. In this case, you can absolutely see that there's a brown rim around the neck of the skimmer below the collection cup. I must clean it. As soon as I finish this video, I'm gonna clean it. The more you let that gunk collect on the neck of the skimmer, the less in performance you're gonna get. You know, it's gonna jeopardize the performance of the skimmer. Absolutely important here. Visually inspect your refugium here. Make sure that your lighting is working. Inspect your pumps, guys. It's not that difficult to do, and this is absolutely important here. You know, especially when it comes to the chiller here. Very important, man. On two separate occasions here, you know, whether it was the wifey that was cleaning or something like that, bam, my protein skimmer is disconnected. I'm sorry, the chiller here is disconnected, and all of a sudden my temperature raises to above 84 degrees. That is a no-no when it comes to reef aquariums, guys. You know, you want to make sure that everything is working as it should. It's that simple to do. You know, approach your system on a daily basis. And we're gonna move on here to rule number 2 here. Now, when it comes to rule number 2, very simple to do, guys. Rule number 2 is dose your system accordingly. Now, this is a tricky one here because some of you don't manually dose your system. Some of you have some pumps, you know, that dose the system, you know, automatically and stuff like that. And that, for you guys, it would fall back to rule number 1, where you have to visually inspect your system. But in my case, I manually dose the system, calcium and alkalinity, and you can see it here. I use B-ionic, and this is extremely important, guys. Not so much for a fish-only system, but for a reef, Very important. Now, in my channel here, the majority of my videos are based on reefs because it is the highest level that you can reach when it comes to marine aquariums. But you have to absolutely make sure that if you have a reef aquarium with several corals like this, you dose your calcium and alkalinity. Now, how much, you know, to add to your system is a big question that cannot be answered directly by me. You know your system better than anyone. In my case, I dose anywhere between 30 to 90 millimeters of calcium on a daily basis. This is very important for the overall growth of my corals. But it depends. And I say 60 to 90 millimeters because sometimes I only dose 60 millimeters. And it depends on the amount of alkalinity that I need to add to the system. This is tricky here, and I do cover calcium and alkalinity, how it works on a video, so you can go back to that video and take a look at that. But absolutely, rule number 2, dose your system accordingly. Now, there's other products out there, you know, strontium and stuff like that, you know, have different recommendations for you to dose on a weekly basis. We're going to cover that on weekly maintenance here. So rule number 1, visually inspect your system. Rule number 2, dose your system accordingly. And rule number 3, as easy as it sounds, feed your fish and corals. I mean, this is common sense here. You know, when you come in to feed your fish and corals and whatnot, you know, you can perform these other 2 tasks here, and it's really not that difficult to do. So if you follow these 3 rules, I absolutely guarantee you that you will ensure that your system is working as need be. Now, because, as mentioned before, because it's been so long that I've released a video, we're going to do a quick update here, and we're going to start with the leather coral here. Now, this mushroom, this leather toadstool here is just doing absolutely beautiful. The polyp extension, the growth, it's actually gotten a lot taller. You know, it's loving the parameters, despite the fact that I have yet to do a water change. Guys, this is important. I've talked about building this system since I've covered it all on YouTube since day number 1. And a lot of questions come to me. Do I really need a deep sand bed? Do I really need a powerful protein skimmer? Do I really need to use Miracle Mud? Absolutely, because my motto when it comes to reef aquariums is the less the maintenance, the more you're going to enjoy your system. So if you spend initially, you're gonna be saving so much money down the road. You know, 6 months and, you know, no water changes, and you can see the evidence for yourself. Now, below here is the pom-pom zinnias are doing absolutely great, and in front of it there's actually 2 frags of some zoanthids there, and usually that's just, you know, it falls off the rock or me messing around with the system. Here with the Montiporas here are just, you can see the growth, guys. For those of you who have been following my videos, the red Monty in the back is almost as big as the one on the right, and we're gonna cover that one too. The green one is just growing beautifully here. Now the rose bubble tip anemone, you can see it for yourself, guys. It's more than doubled in size, and it's actually stretching out to the back. And maybe in weekly maintenance, you know, part 3 of the video, I'm gonna do a side view to show you guys everything, but we're gonna try to make this video as quick as possible. Now the red digitata has also been doing great here. Lots of growth evident everywhere. Down below here, the mushrooms are just multiplying in numbers that, you know, are some of them are even hidden behind the rocks. And in front of it, you're gonna see the clam. Now, I got a question about this clam, not this one in particular, but a particular subscriber asked me a question and said, how do I get rid of bristle worms? Because, you know, they seem to be eating my clam. That's not the case, guys. Far too often these critters, and I have hundreds if not thousands of them in my tank, and you can see my clam is just absolutely doing beautiful here. You know, it's out there opened up in the sun, in the metal halides, trying to capture the sun. Don't blame your bristle worm. Bristle worms are actually the best hitchhikers that you can have in your reef, great detritus and, you know, waste and any kind of decomposing matter in your system. If your coral dies, you know, because it's probably the first animal that you're gonna see consuming the dead coral, you know, you're gonna blame the bristle worms. Don't do it, guys. They're great. Now here is some bad news, guys. With this elegance coral, I did have a blackout in my block, and I took a small video of it, and I'm gonna cover that in a future video because I was without power for about 6 hours, and for whatever reason the entire system recovered except for the elegance, and you can see it, it's a little closed up and whatnot. Everything else, quickly guys, wanted to make this video as short as possible. You know, this yellow scroll coral, you can see the growth is evident here. The blue staghorn, the blue acro here, and the icefire echinata showing lots of growth. The Christmas tree rock here is actually recovering from me moving it from the left side of the tank where the anemone was stinging it, and it's doing quite well here. You can see the sponges here doing well. Everything is just absolutely showing lots of growth, guys. Now you're gonna see some micro bubbles here, and that's only because I just fed the system. Usually when you feed the system, you know, it changes the chemistry of the tank in the water, and it creates micro bubbles. It also causes your skimmer to collapse, and it's just recovering, and it should. And you know, on a future video, on part 3, I'm going to be covering more of these corals. But I just wanted to give you guys a quick heads up. Part 3 should be coming up soon. As always, I always upload a video here soon, so be patient, guys. I've gotten a lot of messages. When's the next video? When's the next video? They're coming, guys. I'm not going anywhere. Just got the laptop. I'm going to continue to make videos and continue to help you guys out with some advice. So with that said, this is newyorksteelo. Hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Stay tuned for part 3. We're going to be covering weekly maintenance. NYC Steelo signing out. Peace.